Are you frustrated with online dating? Confused by all the new apps and fancy dating sites? Do you find yourself choosing the wrong person again and again? Well, studies show that hiring a dating coach can maximize your online dating experience. So no worries, I've got you. And I've created a virtual course called Doing Dating Right. It's a 5-video series that you can complete at your own pace in your own space, right at home. How to write your online dating bio, pick that perfect picture, and so much more. Want more info? Go to my website at jenniferhurvitz.com. Again, it's jenniferhurvitz.com. Good morning. Good morning. This is Doing Relationships Right. I'm Jennifer Hurvitz. I'm your host every Tuesday and every other Friday for Just Jen. But it's Tuesday and it's the last episode of the season. The last episode of the season. And I hate to say that I saved the best for last, but that's kind of mean to my other guests.
You have to say that.
I saved the best for last. I've got Michelle Dempsey-Multack in my studio today.
It really depends who you ask.
Well, I'm asking nobody. It's my show. I can do this, say what I want. I'm just thrilled about this. I'm like, this is so cool because we recorded before and it didn't happen because of lots of reasons. And then this is just meant to be this way.
Yeah.
I feel like now we're 100%. Like, but share it 100% because now I feel like we're like legitimately like friends and it's like so different. And I have your book, but you're going to kill me because it's in the other room. And I was like, I'm going to show the book, but I take the covers.
Do you know what's so funny, Jen?
Do you have it?
I have it too.
Yes. Okay, good. Because I'm glad you have it.
I have 4,000 of them behind me over there.
Okay, good. Because I take the covers off my books when I put them on my shelf.
Okay.
I just like them to look fancy. So I was like, oh, she doesn't care. The cover's not on there's no cover here. So like, who cares about this?
It's funny that you say that because a lot of women are writing to me that someone wrote to me the other day. She's like, do you know how satisfying it is to be sitting on my couch, reading your book, giving my husband the silent treatment, and he doesn't even know what I'm reading because I took the cover off. I'm like, you know what? I support that. We should have sold book covers like the Lisa Frank book covers from high school or whatever.
That's like anyway. when I wrote my books, and my first book was One Happy Divorce, Hold the Bullshit. And women were like, I can't buy this. I want to read it, but my husband will see it next to that. I'm like, well, it's 97 pages. Go read in the other room on the toilet. I mean, whatever. You know, anyway, so hi, Michelle. Hi. First of all, so you're now a best-selling author. Author, Michelle Dempsey-Multack of Moms Moving On is the name of your book. Show the book again so we can see it. Moms Moving On. There it is.
Real life advice on conquering divorce, co-parenting through conflict, and becoming your best self.
That's right. Becoming your best self. So you've been busy.
Yeah.
Busy. How do you feel?
I've been busy since the book came out, and each interview and each opportunity that comes up is really surreal. I just had my first book signing, and to be able to meet people like in person.
I know.
Wild. People like with tears in their eyes. And I'm just like, you know, I don't see myself in that way. So it's very rewarding. And it's also so nice to be reminded that the work that I do and how hard I work is not for naught. Like it's making an impact. So that feels really good. I know. I love it. I just think it's amazing. And what you're doing is so, it's so important, right? I mean, we have great jobs. I like it. I mean, it's good stuff. I mean, who was I at dinner with last time? I was at dinner with someone I hadn't seen in a while who was like, how did you make this a thing? And I'm like, I get that all the time. It became, it's not like I woke up one day and was like, I am going to change the world of divorce. It's just sort of like, as I went through my process and connected with more and more people, this sort of thing found me. I didn't wake up one day and decide I'm going to become a coach. It happened after people were emailing me like, how can I hire you? How can I work with you? And so that's when I realized, okay, maybe my work does matter, and maybe I could take it to the next level. And maybe people actually need you, because I know when I went through my divorce, I had no one. Mm-hmm. And that's why I got started doing what I was doing, right? So my divorce gave me my career, because I didn't have one, right? I mean, I didn't have one. I was a stay-at-home mom for 13 years, and I was like, oh shit, now what? Yeah. And that's when I started thinking, okay, so I can help people live, their best life, because I made lots of mistakes, and here we go. And it's experience, right? It's life experience. So it's great. I love it. And now we get Jen. No, Jen, now we get you. It's amazing. Wait, so you did a reel yesterday that really resonated with me. Maybe it was this morning or today, but I wrote it down actually because I loved it. It was talking about how if you can get over the fact that it's not the person that you miss, That's huge.
Because that was my entire thing. Like everyone's like, well, because I didn't regret getting divorced. I never regretted getting divorced. People are like, oh, well, you wrote a book called Woulda, Coulda, Shoulda, right? I didn't regret getting divorced. I couldn't get over the life that I lost, right? The life, quote unquote. It wasn't the person. Mark and I my ex and I are, my husband, we're best friends. It wasn't that, right? I was very lucky, but like, I don't care about him. I didn't want him. It was the life.
It was the life. And that's what
explain that.
That's what that reel was about, because I think for so many people, the initial feeling is like, oh, my husband, how am I going to live without him? And then, women will come to me in that stage, and then a few months will go by and they're like, oh, it wasn't him.
Right.
I don't miss him.
Right.
I miss having somebody to, fix the internet when it goes out.
Yes.
I miss having a person to show up to events with.
That was my big thing.
He spoke down to me. He never made me feel validated, seen, heard, loved. Sex wasn't good. These things start to come to you, and when they do, I'm like, great. No offense to Joe Schmo over there, but we need this. We can work with this, because what we can change is whether or not Joe Schmo's coming back. But what we can change are those feelings of resentment, anger, pain, and, the feeling of just having to adjust to a new life. We can work with that. So that's why I think it's important to point out, because very often it's not the person.
No,
and it's
not.
like, no offense to that person.
Reel. I loved it, Michelle. I loved it because I think I felt so guilty. I wanted my divorce. I wanted it. And then I felt guilty because I didn't realize, you're right. He wasn't great to me. He wasn't me, even though we're such good friends now, we were in a shitty marriage. But I didn't understand that, because people were like, well, how can you still be friends? I'm like, I didn't realize what was going on. It wasn't him. I missed all that stuff you just mentioned. Like, that was like one of the best reels I ever saw you do. It was great.
Thank you. And it's also a lot about ego too, right? Like if we look at it from the ex-husband perspective, like all these women will say to me, he didn't give a shit about me in our marriage. He was horrible to me. He cheated. He was this, he was that. Now all of a sudden we're not together and he's making my life hell for leaving him. And I'm like, no offense. He doesn't miss you. His ego is bruised. He lost. And so that's why, our egos, male and female egos, behave very differently and bring up different things for us. But it all comes down to a sense of loss, where for the man, he might feel, like I didn't win. Something was taken away from me. And for the woman, it's like, well, I just feel sad and I don't know why, right? And like I can speak to that. And I know so many women I work with could too. So it really all is, I don't know, everything is rooted in ego. And it's so unfortunate because the ego is the most bruised in the divorce process, yet we still have to move forward and make like somewhat reasonable decisions to finalize the divorce process. I
mean, I have so many friends that I like want to buy your book and give it to them, but I feel like I don't want to. I just want to give them your number and send it, because I don't do divorce coaching anymore, and I don't do co-parenting. I'm in dating, whatever. But how do you? Maybe you can give a little advice here too today. But like, I have friends that are still 3 years out, 4 years out, that cannot get over their divorce. Like, are still so angry, and I'm like, oh, you need Michelle. Like, oh, you just need Michelle. You know what I'm saying? And I can't help them because I'm too close.
It's very hard to tell somebody they can't feel the way that they feel.
Right. Thank you.
And so I'm just going to honor for those women that if they're angry, they probably have a right to be.
Agreed.
But what they don't deserve is to live their life wholly, like, encompassing this anger and living in this victim mentality of what happened to me. Because when you live in that place, that mindset is just a dangerous one, because then you are not taking ownership of maybe what you need to own in terms of the demise of the relationship, right? Like, it takes two to say I do, all of that. Maybe you didn't do anything wrong to the person, but how did you show up in that relationship, and how can that be different in the future? So when you live in that victim mindset, you're stuck. And it's not that you can't feel that anger. I'm sure every single one of those women you're describing deserves to feel some anger, but you have to find a way to process it, or like allow for like 10 angry minutes a day, because if you're going to make your divorce your entire life, it's like a really sad story to tell. Right. I like to flip that perspective on its head and say, okay, like, divorce happened. It was another thing on my long list of shit I'll have to go through in my life, but I'm going to make the most of it, and I'm going to take advantage of this new opportunity. But to sit around and, you know, point fingers and say, well, this happened to me, so I can't live my life, then that person wins twice. Like, they've not only now left you and hurt you, now like you're kind of giving the rest of your life to them as if like you don't deserve something better.
Oh my gosh, that is such a good point. I never thought about it that way. You know, because I mean, I have like that. How do it's like, I can't tell them that because they're too close to me, but you're right. It's so true. And I have told them, but like a couple of them are just really just so bitter. So
yeah, angry, that bitterness is sad. I see it more like not with clients, obviously, because we get them past that, but people in my community, I'd say.
Yes.
That I could think of like, you know, a group of them who just have not moved on, have not been able to move on. You know, they're sort of like stuck in that phase of like, well, I'll show him and I'm going to go out half naked every night and like, just move on, right? Like you can go through that phase. I went through that phase, but then like at a certain point, you need to take the next step.
I think you have to want to move on. I think you have to want to find happy somewhere. You know, I think
right. And it's a lot of work. Like, I'm not going to say it's not. It is a full-time job to move yourself out of that like space of the stages of grief and denial and anger and whatever. You need to work on that. And if you don't have the emotional capacity to say, okay, I'm going to find myself in the uncomfortable discomfort of dismantling this life and starting a new one, then yeah, you're probably going to stay stuck.
Yeah. And also I feel like there are so many like great people out there to help you, right? There are so many avenues, so many books, so many like.
Right. It's not like you have to go it alone at this point in your life.
Right.
Even if it's, you know, reading, if it's a divorce account that you follow that you happen to really resonate with, follow it. Let that be like your therapy for the day. Therapy is obviously my favorite mode of mental health help, but not everybody can go to a therapist. So read the book that makes you feel good. Follow the account that gives you the best advice.
If co-parenting during a pandemic taught us anything, it's that you need proof your kids are safe. With alcohol abuse on the rise, many co-parents are turning to the no-nonsense system committed to providing proof, protection, and peace of mind. SoberLink's alcohol monitoring system is the most convenient, reliable, and reasonable way for a parent to provide evidence that they are not drinking during parenting time. SoberLink's real-time alerts make it easy to negotiate with any party. Judges rest assured that the child is safe. Attorneys get court-admissible evidence of sobriety, and both parents have empowerment and peace of mind. Do divorce right and trust the experts in remote alcohol monitoring technology to keep your kids safe, happy, and well-adjusted. To download the guide, 5 non-negotiables for embracing a new normal that I developed with SoberLink, visit www.soberlink.com/DRR.
There's, you know, we're like rife with opportunities these days.
Yeah, I didn't have it. I did it alone.
Neither did I, and that's why I created it.
I mean, I feel like at least when when did you, it's been almost 9 years for me. And I'm thinking, if I had Michelle Dempsey-Multack when I was going through my divorce, I think to and people say that to me, they're like, thank God you were there. When I'm thinking, oh my God, 9 years ago, I felt like there was nothing.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wrote my book. Cause I'm like, if I had I'm very like, I like lists. I like routine. I like someone to tell me how to do the things I don't know how to do. So I'm like, if I had a step-by-step guide to adjusting to co-parenting, understanding the legal process, like I probably would have been a lot less frantic.
Me too.
I probably would have made better decisions in the divorce process, and I probably would have slept better at night. And so that's why I wrote the book, because it's essentially a what to expect when you're expecting. And it walks you through every part of the process, almost 30 chapters of everything you're going to encounter as a mom going through the divorce. And I essentially wrote that because I wish I had it.
Yeah. And you were the best thing about you is that, you know, you're authentic and you're real and you don't bullshit around, which, you know, I happen to like that in a girl. So, you know, I just find that.
What can I say?
But I mean, it's true. Like, I feel like there's no fluff, right? You're cutting right to the bullshit. Like here, you're going to go through this, and this, and you know, you'll be okay.
Right. Well, yes. And I think a lot of people will be like, when is it going to not hurt anymore? And I'm like, it still hurts me, girlfriend, that not that I'm not with my ex, but that we had to dismantle this life, and that we have to share a child, and that we have a child who feels the pangs of co-parenting, you know, that shit hurts. Yep. But like lots of things hurt in life. You know, my stepdad died almost 20 years ago at this point. That hurts every day, but I put it in its container, and I don't let it dictate my life. And I think that's the message is it's not going to not hurt, but you have to know what to do with that hurt and how to proceed anyway.
Absolutely. It's also interesting because my boys are teenagers now. Well, they're older. And to listen to them.
Big boys.
Yeah, big boys. They're both going to college. But to hear them, like they were on my podcast, and to actually hear them tell me like how they really felt about the divorce now is so, it just lifts such a weight off of me. Because
really?
Oh my God. I thought Zach was on my podcast, and I said, Zach, I'm going to ask you tell me how you really, like, I was ready for him to rip me to like, you know, and he was like, no, it's like, I don't know. They never saw us fight. We didn't fight. My ex and I, we went on the front porch. We fought, we texted, we fought. We never fought in front of the kids. So they were in shock. They were 9 and 11. They were like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
That's a hard age for the kids.
It was so hard, Michelle. It was so hard. Yeah. But we promised each other we would do it right. That's where my first podcast doing divorce right came from. But now looking back, Zach's like, Mom, you did it. We don't want you to be unhappy. I'm so glad you guys got divorced. We didn't want you to be in a miserable relationship. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel so much better.
It's amazing when kids mature to that space, especially like I know that age range, 8 to 12 is hard on kids because they're going from a norm to something completely different. Whereas, you know, my daughter was 2 when I separated, so she has no memory. However, children that don't remember their parents together also enter this space of like questioning and grieving what they don't, remember that they had. So about a year ago, Bella started asking all these questions and like wanted to know what life was like when me and Daddy were married and what my wedding dress looked like and all those things. And I was really open with her about it. And recently she was like, she's very proud of my book and the fact that I wrote one. Like anyone who comes over, she'll like run to my office and grab a copy and like show them. And the other day she was sitting on my lap and she was like, I think I want to write a book too. I'm like, about what? And she's like, also about divorce, but like for kids. I'm like, well, what would you tell them? She was like, well, like, you know, how like you help moms, I would help them. And I would say, yeah, it's really annoying that you have to live in 2 houses, but it's also fun, you know, like, and she just was like trying to process it in her little way. I know.
Go on. Now you just should do it. I was going to do it a long time ago with Zach and Jonah, but they're like, we don't want to be joining. You do enough in public. We don't want to have our name on stuff. I'm like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a cute idea. I just don't want to do anything with her that she might regret when she's older, make her dad feel bad about, you know, so
I felt that way too.
I protect that a lot.
Yeah.
Their relationship
that's why I went to Hurvitz.
Important to me.
I was Weintraub for the first book. So it says, you know, and then when they got older, they're like, we're done with you, Mom. So I went to Hurvitz because, you know,
it's nice that you didn't build your whole Instagram on your married name like I did. And now Instagram's like, you're verified. We can't change your name. And I'm like,
oh, okay. I know. You're like, I'll keep it just where it is. Yes, you're like, I like that little blue tick. I'll keep it.
Not going to mess that up.
Not going to mess that up, girl. No way. No way. So Miss Bestselling Author, what is next for you? Oh, are we sharing? Are we done? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? If you know, you're like, I'm just going to relax.
I do have an idea for another book, and I am in the process of applying to go back to school. I want to become a licensed clinical social worker so that I can work more closely with the children going through the divorce process. I think here in Miami, there's a big need for guardians and parent coordinators. And I think that's where my passion lies. As a former educator, I was a teacher, and it all comes back to like the needs of the kids for me. I worked in special education, which is, you know, in special education, each child has an individualized education plan. And we look at their academic life through the eyes of each particular child versus like a one-size-fits-all model. And I think we need more of that in the co-parenting world, not just saying, okay, 50-50 is the norm in Florida, so this kid is going to adjust to 50-50, but how can we make that 50-50 work? Maybe it's not a 2-2-3. Maybe it's something else. Looking at the needs of the child in each divorce case is something I would love to be able to do.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And maybe you can hire my son, Zach, because that's what he wants to do.
Well, if he's a Syracuse graduate, of course.
I know, right?
There's no better school. That's where my husband went.
I know. They're both going.
And my stepdad.
I love it. It's cold there, Michelle.
I know. Well, it wasn't for me. I'll tell you that. I know.
Well, we're in Charlotte.
My boys are friends went there.
Yeah.
I'm from Long Island, so that was like, everybody's first choice school.
Oh, I can't believe it. I'm obsessed with Otto, the orange. I'm obsessed with him. I just want to just chew him. He's the cutest damn thing. I know, right? It's a little weird. I know, it's okay. But yeah, my boys, I know, right? My boys are like, what do you mean I have to put on pants? They don't have pants. In Charlotte, well, Florida, they don't wear.
Yeah.
So that's a little crazy.
Yeah, it'll be a hard adjustment.
Michelle, I love you.
I love you.
I think you're doing amazing work, and I don't want to keep you all day, but I would. Is there anything that you want to tell everybody, like a little soundbite for me? Because this is my last episode before the summer.
I want to say to your listeners that if they are in the middle of the divorce process and feel like they can't breathe, that's normal. It's really normal to have this overwhelming sense of dread and anxiety when you don't know what the outcome is going to be. But I would say the best way to get through that is to not push those feelings aside, to really work with them and think, what is scaring me the most? And give yourself like a worst case scenario something so that you feel like you have a little control. So I'll give you an example of a client that I just got off my call with. She's really worried. She wants to do a 5-2-2-5 schedule with her 2-year-old.
Okay.
Her ex wants week on, week off. But in that week, she would get a night in the middle of the week with her daughter. So we talk, she's freaking out. She doesn't want this week on, week off. And I don't blame her. Like her daughter's 2, it's a lot. Anyway, so we had to worst case scenario it for her. I said, okay, worst case scenario, he gets the schedule he wants. You still get that day in the middle of the week and your daughter's none the wiser. It's still like a 2-5-2 if you think about it, right? So worst case scenario, put yourself in that situation and see how you can make that work for you in the best way possible. Then you'll feel like you have a little bit more control over the process. And I'll also say, if you can get yourself out of that victim mindset and get past the pain, you won't die alone, because I know that's what everybody's worried about. But you need to really work through your own stuff so that you make sure you're not repeating this relationship pattern over and over and over again. And you deserve to do the work.
I love that. Yes. Hold yourself accountable so you can get in your next relationship in. You can go to Michelle first and do your work and then come to me and I'll help you date.
Exactly.
Perfect. That's
the perfect trade-off. Yeah.
We got it here. Okay, girl, have a fantastic day. Happy Mother's Day to you. Hope you had a great Mother's Day and it was beautiful. And that is that. And everybody, that is that. I just want to say goodbye to everybody because this is my last episode of the season. So I will see you in September. Oh my God, it seems like it's so far away. So far away.
It's not though.
It goes quickly. So I'm going to move my kids into school and then I'm going to come back and who knows? Well, maybe I'll have a new name. Who knows? We'll see, but that's okay. But everyone do something great today. Do something great this summer. Everyone enjoy. That's it. I love you guys. Michelle, thank you. Oh, wait, Michelle, where can we find you? Instagram.
I'm on Instagram at the Michelle Dempsey. My website is momsmovingon.com. And there you can find my podcast, my book, how you can work with me, my membership community, all the things.
Everything. Your website's amazing. Perfect. And everything's going to be in the show notes. So we're good. Okay, y'all. Have a fabulous summer.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. And thank you, Michelle, for being here. Peace, love, and so much truth. Bye, y'all. If you've ever felt like no one out there meets your relationship standards, or you've questioned why the relationships you do attract don't last, I have something you're going to love. I'm thrilled to be a featured guest on an upcoming speaker series designed to help independent women attract and nurture equal, healthy relationships. Lasting Love at Your Level features over 25 leaders in the evidence-based love and relationship space, including me, your favorite, Jen Hurvitz. This is a limited time online event that you won't want to miss. Grab your spot today at www.bexburton.com/Lasting Love at Your Level /Jen. That's Bex, BEX, Burton, BURTON.com.